Title: Save your basil seeds and harvest like a pro. Is your favorite basil plant starting to look a little sad now that the season is winding down? Does it feel like the vibrant, aromatic heart of your summer garden is beginning to fade? Don't be discouraged. Those flowers, the very things we pinch off all summer, aren't a sign of defeat. They're a sign of legacy. They mean your plant is holding a treasure for you, a promise for the future. In this video, I'm going to show you, step by step, how to turn this plant that has given you so much joy into an endless supply of free basil for next year. We're going to transform this end-of-season melancholy into a moment of pure empowerment. By the end of this, you won't just be a gardener, you'll be a seed saver, a creator of future gardens, and you'll never need to buy basil seeds or plants again. Section 1. The Why, the philosophy of seed saving. Before we grab our shears and get into the practical steps, let's take a second to talk about the why. Why bother saving these tiny, little black seeds? Well, the answer is so much bigger and more rewarding than you might think. On the surface, of course, it's about saving money. A single basil plant can produce hundreds, if not thousands, of seeds. A packet from the store might give you 50, maybe 100 seeds for a few bucks. One plant that you've already grown and loved can give you 10 or 20 times that amount for free. Over the years, this simple act really adds up. It's practical, it's frugal, and who doesn't love that? Growing your own food already saves money, but harvesting your own seeds takes it to a whole new level of self-reliance. But the real magic, the true heart of seed saving, goes way beyond the economics. It's about preservation and connection. Maybe you have a specific basil variety you just absolutely adore. A Genovese with leaves so big and sweet they make the perfect pesto, or a purple Thai that adds beautiful color and a hint of anise to your dishes. When you buy from a big supplier, you're getting a standard product. When you save seeds from your own plant, you are preserving the unique genetic line of a plant grown in your soil, adapted to your specific little microclimate. You become a curator of flavor, a guardian of a lineage that has performed well for you. And if you're growing an heirloom variety, this act becomes even more profound. You're taking part in an age-old tradition, preserving genetic diversity that can get lost in commercial farming. You're keeping a story alive. Then there is the beautiful, empowering feeling of self-sufficiency. In a world where we're so often disconnected from where our food comes from, seed saving is a powerful act of reconnecting. It closes the loop. You plant a seed, nurture the plant, enjoy its harvest, and then collect its seeds to start the cycle all over again. Suddenly, you don't depend on an external supply chain for that part of your garden. You hold the entire life cycle in your own hands. It's a deeply satisfying feeling, a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can create abundance right from your own backyard. It is the ultimate expression of sustainable gardening. Finally, and this is something I feel every time I do this, there is an emotional connection. You've spent a whole season with this basil plant. You've watched it grow from a tiny seedling. You've watered it, protected it, and it has nourished you in return. Letting it go can be a little sad. But when you save its seeds, the plant doesn't truly die. Its legacy continues through its offspring for another year, and another, and another. It transforms an ending into a continuation. It's a beautiful way to honor the plant. So as we move into the how, remember this why. We aren't just harvesting seeds, we are harvesting potential, preserving flavor, and honoring the life cycle of our garden. Section 2. Understanding the basil life cycle. To harvest like a pro, you have to think like a pro, and that means really understanding the plant you're working with. A deep, intuitive knowledge of the basil plant's life cycle is what separates a novice from an expert. It lets you anticipate its needs and recognize the perfect moment for every action. Basil is what we call a frost-tender annual. This is a critical piece of information. Annual means it completes its entire life cycle, from seed, to plant, to seed again, in a single growing season. Frost tender means it cannot survive freezing temperatures. The first hard frost of fall will kill it. This defines our window of opportunity. We have to get our seeds before the plant succumbs to the cold. Let's walk through its life. It all starts with a seed. When you plant this seed in warm soil and give it water, it germinates. A tiny root emerges first, anchoring itself, followed by the first 2 seed leaves, called cotyledons. These aren't true leaves, they're part of the seed's embryo and provide the initial jolt of energy for the seedling to get going. Soon after, the first true leaves appear, the ones that actually look like basil. From here, the plant is in its vegetative stage. This is the stage every pesto lover knows well. The plant's only job is to produce as much foliage as possible to capture sunlight, turning that light into energy to grow bigger and stronger. Our job is to encourage it. This is when we're constantly pinching the tops of the stems right above a set of leaves. This does 2 things: it gives us basil for the kitchen, and it encourages the plant to get bushy by sending out 2 new stems from where we pinched. We're basically manipulating the plant to create more of what we want, leaves. But the plant has its own agenda. Its ultimate biological purpose isn't to provide us with endless caprese salads, it's to reproduce. To make seeds. As the days get longer and the summer heat intensifies, the plant gets signals from the environment that it's time to move into its reproductive stage. This is when you'll see the plant start to bolt. That term just means it's sending up flower stalks. These stalks shoot up from the center, looking a little different from the rest of the plant. For most of the season, we see this as a bad sign. When the plant puts its energy into making flowers, it stops putting as much energy into its leaves. The flavor of the leaves can even change, sometimes getting a little bitter. This is why the common advice is to pinch off those flower buds as soon as you see them. For our purpose today, though, these flowers are exactly what we want. We are intentionally letting the plant fulfill its destiny. When we decide it's time to save seeds, we have to stop pinching off the flowers on at least 1 or 2 healthy plants. We're shifting our role from consumer to facilitator. The small buds on the stalk will open up into delicate white or purplish flowers, which are an absolute magnet for pollinators like bees. As the bees gather nectar, they transfer pollen, fertilizing the flowers. This is the crucial step that allows seeds to develop. A word of caution: if you have different basil varieties planted close together, they can cross-pollinate. This means your saved seeds might produce a hybrid, which can be a fun surprise, or a disappointment if you were trying to preserve a specific type. To guarantee a pure strain, you'd need to isolate the plant from other varieties. After a flower is pollinated, its petals wither and fall off. In its place, a small green pod forms. This is where the tiny seeds are beginning to develop. The plant pours its remaining life energy into maturing these seeds. This is the final and most critical stage for us. Our task is to watch these pods and wait for that perfect moment of maturity. Section 3. Identifying the perfect moment. When to harvest. Timing is everything in the garden, especially when it comes to saving seeds. Harvest too early, and you'll get pale, immature seeds that will never sprout. Harvest too late, and the plant might have already dropped its precious cargo, or a sudden autumn rain could ruin the drying pods with mold. A pro knows how to read the plant's signals and spot that perfect, narrow window. So, what are we looking for? The main signal is a color change, from green and living to brown and dry. All summer, your basil is vibrant green. When it flowers, the stalks are green, and the seed pods that form are green. This green color means the plant is still actively working, and the seeds inside are still developing. Patience is your best friend here. The ripening process can take several weeks after the plant flowers, sometimes 6 weeks or even longer. You'll see the flower stalks, once covered in little white blossoms, now studded with developing seed pods. As the season ends, the plant stops sending energy and water up these stalks, and they begin to dry out. The first visual cue is the flower stalks themselves turning from green to a dry, brittle brown. This should happen while the stalk is still on the plant. Don't be tempted to cut them while they're green, thinking they'll dry inside. Letting them dry on the plant ensures the seeds have gotten every last bit of energy to fully mature. Next, look closely at the individual seed pods. Each little pod that was once a flower will also turn from green to a crisp, light brown or tan. They should feel dry and papery to the touch. If you gently squeeze a green pod, it will be soft. A mature, dry pod will be brittle and might even crumble a bit. That's a great sign. The final, definitive confirmation is to look inside the pods. This is the pro move. Gently take one of the driest, brownest pods from the stalk. Inside, you should see the seeds. Mature, viable basil seeds are a distinct dark brown or, more often, a deep, rich black. They'll be tiny, oval-shaped, and hard. If you open a pod and the seeds inside are still pale green, yellow, or light brown, they're not ready. Just wait a little longer. The weather is another critical factor. Your goal is to harvest these dry seed stalks before the heavy autumn rains begin. If the stalks get soaked once they've dried, they are highly susceptible to mold, which will destroy the seeds. Keep an eye on the forecast. Ideally, you want to harvest after a string of several dry, sunny days. The late afternoon is a great time, when any morning dew has long since evaporated. You also absolutely have to act before the first hard frost. Basil has zero tolerance for frost. A frost will kill the plant tissue, and while it might not instantly destroy the dry seeds, it can introduce moisture and rot. That first predicted frost date should be a hard deadline in your mind. So, to recap the perfect moment, most of the flower stalks are brown and brittle. The individual pods are also brown and crispy. Inside, you find tiny, hard, black seeds. And you're harvesting during a dry spell, before the rains and the first frost. When all of that lines up, that's your golden moment. That's when it's time to harvest. Section 4, the harvest, step-by-step pro technique. All right, this is the moment of action. We've understood the why, learned the life cycle, and identified the perfect time. Now, we harvest. The process itself is wonderfully simple, but a little care and the right technique will ensure you gather the most high-quality seeds possible. First, let's get our gear. You don't need much. Your main tool is a clean, sharp pair of shears or scissors. A sharp tool ensures a clean cut and prevents crushing the stem. You'll also need something to put the stalks in. The absolute best choice is a simple paper bag. A grocery bag or lunch sack is perfect. Paper is crucial because it's breathable, it lets air circulate and moisture escape. Avoid plastic bags at all costs. Plastic traps moisture, which is basically a VIP invitation for mold to ruin your whole party. With your shears and paper bag, head over to your chosen basil plant. Look for those stalks you've already identified as being perfectly mature. You don't have to harvest every single flower stalk, even just a few will give you an incredible number of seeds. Now, for the cut. Snip the entire seed stalk off the main plant. Follow the stalk down past the last of the pods and cut it several inches below them. A good rule of thumb is to leave at least 4 to 6 inches of bare stem attached. This handle will come in very handy later. Cut the stalks one by one and gently place them into your paper bag. Be gentle here. The driest pods might be ready to drop their seeds with just a little jiggle, and you want those seeds to fall into your bag, not all over the garden. Once you have your stalks, it's time for a critical post-harvest drying phase. You might think they're ready since they were dry on the plant, but there's always some residual moisture hiding in there. To ensure your seeds are perfectly dry for long-term storage, an extra drying period is essential. This is where the paper bag method really shines. Take your bag of stalks. If you have a larger bundle, you can gather the stems and secure them with a rubber band or twine. Then, place the whole bundle, seed heads down, into a larger paper bag. Fold the top of the bag over and clip it around the stems, leaving the handles sticking out. Now, hang this bag somewhere dry, cool, and with good air circulation. A garage, a well-ventilated shed, a pantry, or even a spare closet works perfectly. The key is to avoid direct sunlight, which can cause condensation, and to avoid damp areas like a basement. Just hang the bag up and wait. This secondary drying lets the last bits of moisture wick out. As the stalks get even more brittle, many seeds will naturally release and collect conveniently in the bottom of the bag. It's passive harvesting at its finest. Let the bag hang for at least 1 to 2 weeks. Honestly, longer is better as long as the location is dry. There's no harm in leaving it for 3 or 4 weeks to be absolutely certain. You'll know it's ready when the stalks and pods crumble easily when you handle them through the bag. At this point, your harvest is complete, and the treasure is securely waiting for you inside. Section 5, the extraction, releasing the treasure. This is probably the most satisfying part of the whole process. After weeks of patient drying, it's time to free the seeds. This stage is like a miniature harvest festival, the culmination of the plant's life and your careful work. We're basically going to do a tiny version of threshing and winnowing, ancient farming terms for separating grain from chaff. First, set up your workspace. This can get a little messy, so do it somewhere easy to clean, like over a large table or countertop. A rimmed baking sheet is absolutely perfect for this. The rim will keep the tiny seeds from rolling away. For bonus points, line the baking sheet with white paper. The stark background makes the tiny black seeds incredibly easy to see. Now, grab your paper bag of dried basil. Before you even open it, give the bag a good, vigorous shake. Shake it up and down, side to side. You should hear the rustling and the satisfying sound of tiny seeds hitting the paper. This will dislodge a ton of seeds that were just waiting to fall out. Carefully open the bag and pour everything out onto your baking sheet. You'll have a pile of dried stems, crumbled flower heads, and scattered amongst it all, your precious black seeds. Give the bigger stems one last shake over the tray before tossing them in the compost. Now for the main event, threshing. Your goal is to break up the remaining dried flower heads to release the seeds still inside. The best tool for this is your own 2 hands. Take a handful of the dried plant matter and just rub it between your palms right over the baking sheet. You can also pinch and roll the individual dried flower heads between your thumb and forefinger. The brittle pods will crumble easily, releasing the seeds. You'll feel the texture change as the papery chaff breaks apart and the small, hard seeds fall free. Work your way through all the material, and watch as the number of black seeds on your tray grows and grows. It's amazing to see how many were packed in there. If you prefer not to do it by hand, you could use a rolling pin. Put the crumbled material back in the paper bag, lay it flat, and gently go over it. The pressure will crush the pods. Then pour it all back onto the tray. Personally, I like the hand-rubbing method. It's more fun and gives you more control. At the end of this step, your tray will have a mix of 2 things: the tiny, black basil seeds, and the chaff, all the other lightweight bits of leaves, petals, and husks. Your next job is to separate the treasure from the trash. Mid-roll CTA. If you're finding this guide to seed saving helpful and you're getting excited about having your own endless supply of basil, consider subscribing to the channel. We explore all sorts of ways to make your garden more productive, sustainable, and joyful. Your support helps me create more guides just like this one. Now, let's get these seeds cleaned up. Section 6, the winnowing, cleaning your seeds like a pro. You've got the seeds out, but they're mixed with a lot of debris. You could store them like this, but it's not the pro way. Cleaning your seeds by removing the chaff is important. The chaff can hold onto moisture or mold spores that could ruin your seeds in storage. Plus, clean seeds are easier to handle next season, and let's be honest, a jar of pure seeds just looks better. This separation process is called winnowing. The principle is simple: your seeds are small but dense and heavy. The chaff is light, airy, and papery. We can use that weight difference to our advantage. The most traditional method is to use a gentle breeze. This is best done outside on a very still day. If you do it indoors, be prepared for a little plant dust confetti. Take your baking sheet with the seed and chaff mixture. Tilt the tray slightly and give it a gentle shake to let the heavier seeds settle at the bottom. Now, lower your head and blow, very, very gently, across the surface. The lightest pieces of chaff will lift up and blow away, while the heavier black seeds stay put. This takes a little finesse. Start with the gentlest puffs of air you can manage. You can always blow a little harder, but you can't get your seeds back if you blow them all over the kitchen floor. It's a delicate dance. If the blowing method feels a bit too risky, there's another great option: a sieve or a colander. The trick is finding one with the right-sized holes. You need a mesh that holds back the bigger pieces of chaff but lets your tiny basil seeds fall through. A standard pasta colander won't work, but a fine mesh tea strainer or even a splatter screen for a frying pan can be perfect. Hold the sieve over a clean bowl or another baking sheet. Pour a little of your seed and chaff mix into the sieve. Gently shake and swirl it from side to side. The tiny, heavy seeds will fall through into the clean bowl below, while the bigger pieces of chaff get trapped. Discard the chaff and repeat. No method is perfect. You'll probably have some fine dust and tiny bits of chaff that fell through with the seeds. That's totally fine. You can do one last, very gentle blow over your clean seeds or just pick out any obvious debris. Your goal isn't lab-grade purity, it's to get them mostly clean. What you have left in your bowl is a beautiful pile of clean, black basil seeds, your garden's promise for next year. Section 7, the final cure, ensuring maximum viability. This is a step a lot of people skip, but it's a pro touch that can make a huge difference in how long your seeds last. Just like we gave the stalks a secondary drying period, we're going to give the clean seeds a final curing period to make sure every last microscopic bit of moisture is gone. Dryness is the single most important factor for long-term seed life. Even after all that air drying, seeds can hold onto a tiny bit of internal moisture, especially if you live in a humid climate. Sealing them in a container with that moisture is a recipe for mold or rot. The process is incredibly simple. Spread your clean seeds out in a thin, single layer on a plate, a shallow dish, or a clean piece of paper. Don't pile them up, you want maximum air exposure for each seed. Now, just place this plate in a warm, dry spot, out of direct sunlight. On a kitchen counter away from the sink, on top of a bookshelf, or even on top of your refrigerator is often perfect. The gentle, ambient warmth helps evaporate that final bit of moisture. Let the seeds sit here for several more days, or even up to a week. Give the plate a gentle swirl once a day to move the seeds around. This step just requires a little extra patience, but it's your ultimate insurance policy. It guarantees your seeds are as bone dry as they can possibly be, setting them up for a long, dormant life in storage. After this final cure, your seeds are officially ready for the vault. Section 8, the vault, storing your seeds for the future. You did it. You harvested, extracted, cleaned, and cured your basil seeds like a pro. Now you have to protect your investment. Proper storage is the final, crucial piece of the puzzle. When stored correctly, basil seeds can remain viable for up to 5 years. To store seeds like a pro, you have to protect them from their 3 mortal enemies: heat, light, and moisture. Your whole storage strategy is about defeating these 3 things. First, containers. You need something airtight. This is your main defense against moisture. Small glass jars with tight lids, like baby food or spice jars, are great. So are plastic zip-top bags, though they're less durable. A classic choice is paper seed envelopes, but if you use those, put the envelopes inside a bigger airtight container like a glass jar for extra protection. Whatever you choose, make sure it's completely dry before you put your seeds in it. For the ultimate pro move against moisture, add a desiccant, something that absorbs any stray moisture from the air inside. You don't need anything fancy. A small sachet of uncooked rice or a single silica gel packet, the kind from new shoe boxes or vitamin bottles tossed in the jar with your seeds works perfectly. Next, labeling. This is non-negotiable. It seems obvious now, but trust me, a year from now, you'll be so glad you did it. Your label needs at least two things: the variety of basil and the harvest date, month and year. For example, Genovese basil, November 2025. This lets you keep track and use your oldest seeds first. You could even add notes like "from the extra sweet plant in the big blue pot" to help you remember its specific qualities. With your seeds sealed and labeled, find the right spot. Remember the enemies: cool, dark, and dry. A pantry, a cupboard, a drawer in a cool room, all excellent choices. You want a stable, cool temperature. Avoid places with big temperature swings, like an uninsulated garage. The ideal is 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, about 4 to 10 degrees Celsius, but consistent room temperature is fine for a few years. Some serious seed savers even use the fridge or freezer, but if you do that, make sure your container is absolutely airtight to prevent condensation when you take it out. Finally, a pro always verifies their work. If you're ever unsure if your stored seeds are still good, do a simple germination test. Take 10 seeds, place them on a damp paper towel, fold it over, and slide it into a sealed plastic bag. Put the bag in a warm spot. After a week or so, check on it. If 7 out of 10 seeds have sprouted, you have a 70% germination rate. That's pretty good. If only 1 or 2 sprout, you know to plant them more thickly next season to make up for it. This simple test removes all the guesswork. Section 9, the payoff: sowing your saved seeds after a long winter. The day finally arrives. The soil is warming up, the danger of frost has passed, and it's time to bring your saved seeds back to life. This is the moment the entire process has been leading up to, the triumphant completion of the cycle. You have 2 main options. First, you can plant them directly in the garden. Basil loves warm soil, so wait until after your last frost date. Prepare your garden bed, then take your saved seeds and just scatter them lightly over the surface. Since you have so many, you don't need to be precious about it. A generous scattering is perfect. Cover them with a very light dusting of soil. Keep the area moist, and in a week or 2, you will see a carpet of tiny basil seedlings emerge. It is a truly magical sight. Your second option is to get a head start by starting them indoors 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. Plant a few seeds per cell in seedling trays with good potting mix. Keep them moist and warm. Once the seedlings have their first set of true leaves and the weather outside is settled, you can transplant them into your garden or into bigger pots. The first time you make a pesto or a caprese salad with basil that you grew from a seed you saved yourself is a truly profound moment. You will taste the connection. You'll taste the satisfaction. You will have a deeper appreciation for the flavor, knowing the full story behind it, from seed to plant to seed again. This is the true reward. Conclusion: so there you have it. We've walked the entire path, from looking at a fading basil plant to holding a jar full of potential for countless future ones. You now know not just the how, but the why, the when, and the what comes next. You've learned to see the end of the season not as a loss, but as the beautiful start of a new beginning. You've turned one plant into a legacy. You've embraced a practice that saves money, preserves flavors you love, and connects you more deeply to the rhythm of your garden. This is a skill that will serve you for your entire gardening life. It's empowering, it's sustainable, and as you've seen, it's incredibly easy. You are no longer just someone who grows basil, you are a custodian of your garden's future. I hope this guide has inspired you to give it a try. I promise, the satisfaction you'll feel is immeasurable. If you've saved seeds before, or if you have any questions, please share your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear from our community of gardeners. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more ways to make your garden thrive. Now go look at your basil plant and see the treasure that's waiting for you.